Welcome to the new Inside WAG Nutrition Podcast with myself, Chris.
And I am Josh.
All right, welcome. So we're going to kick off this new podcast, starting to interview the coaches who are the faces behind Working Against Gravity Nutrition and who you are either currently working with or maybe working with in the near future if you decide to sign up. For more information, you can go to www.workingagainstgravity.com/join and find out all the information that you need about the one-on-one nutrition services that we offer.
That's right. Yeah, we do. We do the one-on-one nutrition coaching is really what we pride ourselves on. But we also have the crash course that if you're interested in just kind of doing things on your own and learning kind of what we do, there's that option. And then we also have the certification where you can take a really, really deep dive into how we do the nutrition coaching that we do. We talk about how to come up with different macros, how to work with people and develop new habits and better routines. And you get to work with a training coach all the way through that process too. So that's, we do offer quite a few things that are really, really cool. And we do our best to put those out there, but the one-on-one nutrition coaching is really what we value a lot. And we really take pride in that. So that's what this podcast is all about, highlighting that and introducing the coaches to a wider audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the goal of this podcast, is to give you some looks behind the scenes, behind the curtain, if you will, and get to know the amazing people that are part of this team and that Josh and I are absolutely proud of being a part of for the years that we have, and continue to grow and prosper, and working with hundreds of thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but thousands of clients across the United States, or across the world, actually, the entire world, worldwide. So, and in this episode, we're going to interview Josh, or I'm going to interview Josh, and we're going to get to know Josh a little bit better. And so let's just kick it off with the first question, Josh. Yeah. Where do you hail from, and who do you live with?
Well, like Chris said, my name's Josh Holton, and I am from Michigan. I live up in northern Michigan, Traverse City area. For those of you that are familiar with the mitten, you know, you have to do it's like the quintessential. You hold your hand up, right? You point to like right below your pinky finger.
One of the nooks. Yeah,
that's right.
Okay.
So born and raised here. I was technically born and raised a little further north in a town called Northport, but moved to Traverse City for school, and it was just where everything was happening. So been here ever since.
Nice. What'd you go to school for?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, I went to the Great Lakes Maritime Academy. So I took some time off after high school, and then I went through 4 years of the Great Lakes Maritime Academy, where I got my U.S. Coast Guard third mate's certification to sail on commercial ships. So container ships, dredges, could work in the oil field, supply boats, things like that. So I did that for a number of years, close to 10 years, before I decided to make a pretty significant career change into something that I was really, truly passionate about. I think that's one thing that listeners are going to find about the entire staff at WAG, is that this started as a passion, and they found a way to turn it into exactly what they do every single day. And it's been a really, really cool ride, and it's one of the best decisions I ever made. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that.
with all that said, I am married to Jessica, who is also a WAG coach, and we'll do her interview here in a little while, a couple weeks maybe. But we've been married for this past year was our 11-year anniversary, which is
nice. Congratulations.
Thanks. It's so wild. And we have a wonderful little boy named Milo, who's 2.5. Oh, he'll be 3 in December, so he's a little over 2.5. And we have a really, really grumpy cat who you might hear. I'm looking around. She might be down here right now. You might hear her on the podcast too. Her name's Kona. and
Kona.
yeah, she's old and sassy. So yeah, that's
so we may hear the growls of Kona the basement cat somewhere in here. Yeah.
That's right.
Nice.
That's right. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, you already answered kind of the question of like what it was that you did before WAG, riding on boats and all that. So maybe you can give us a little insight as to exactly what that job pertained. And then what was I guess, the inspiration or what caused you to want to make that change from that working in that professionalism or in that professional field to becoming a nutrition coach. So how did that happen?
That's a good question. It was a long build up. So, I'm fortunate enough to have worked for a few different companies and have, aside from the Arctic Ocean, I've been across all the oceans in the world, which is a pretty cool, flag in your hat or whatever, badge of honor.
Not many people can say that.
Yeah. So I've had the opportunity to travel a ton of different places and meet a ton of different kinds of people. And throughout my entire time sailing, I was always focused on like keeping fit and keeping healthy. And inevitably, when you're on a ship, some of the ships that I were on were, 300 feet long and 55 feet wide. And the last one that I was on was 825 feet long and 125 feet wide. So, wow. That's like a small city. So you get to know guys and people get to see like what you're doing, and inevitably they want to know like, how you're training, how you're eating and doing things like that, and I was not the only one that was focused on that on these ships, but I was the one that kind of took the next steps into doing courses and doing like online training while I was out sailing and away from home. And
because obviously maintaining your physical fitness level is a prerequisite to being probably in that industry, right? Or that profession. Like you had to maintain some degree of physical aptitude to do your job.
Definitely. There was that's from a licensing standpoint, and that's also from just being, fit for duty, like the term fit for duty. It is generally a military term, I think, but on the ship, like you have to be ready to go and be ready to do kind of anything at any time. Yeah. Because it never shuts down, So there was like a certain amount of like, I need to do this in order to perform my job to the best that I could. But also it was just like what I like to do. And when it came to food and nutrition, that required some schooling and that required some certifications and things that I didn't have previously. So while I was out there and providing we had good internet, which is, when you're offshore, it can be a little spotty sometimes, but did online courses. And then when I was home, I was a member of a CrossFit gym here in Traverse City, and I was coaching CrossFit and kind of got started in doing nutrition with people at the gym. And this is all before WAG. So I started doing nutrition coaching with people at the gym. And this just kind of like gradually over years and years just kind of started to snowball and kind of take off. So I remember like very distinctly that there was one time I was out on the last ship that I sailed on, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and I had been thinking about leaving the industry for a little while, and I asked him, is this job fulfilling to you? Are you fulfilled? And before I could even finish the sentence, he said no. And we talked about that. And then as time goes on, you start to think about the different kinds of people or authors or just people you look up to. I was reading a lot. I was listening to a lot of podcasts, and it was like none of the people that I was listening to and looking up to were really doing what I was doing. A lot of different people that had chosen to carve out their own, little niche and kind of make their own way. And I started to think about that like pretty heavily. And I was a client at WAG at the time, and my coach, who was since moved on, I asked him, I said, how do you do this full time? Are you a nutrition coach full time? And he said, yeah, I am. And kind of explained to me what was going on. And eventually I had the opportunity to train under him and become a WAG substitute coach myself. And then after about a year of that, we finally got the offer to be nutrition coaches. Me and my wife both. And
okay, so you guys kind of started the process around the same time.
We started the process around the same time. Yep.
Cool.
I did decide to make the jump a little bit sooner than she did. But that was because she was teaching, and she, timeline wise, she was fulfilling her contract and doing that kind of thing. And it took some time to think about it, but I ultimately made the decision to jump and actually do what I wanted to do and what I still love to do, like full time. And that was do nutrition coaching and help people get physically fit. And WAG was my ticket. And I'm so grateful that I even had the opportunity to do that.
It's awesome. That's amazing. Do you remember how many sub coach assignments you did before you got offered a part-time, full-time position with WAG?
Man, that's a good question.
Or what was the first scenario in which you were called upon to sub coach? Maybe.
I remember that there was a coach, again, has since moved on, that was on vacation, and WAG staff was super small at the time. I think there might've been 10 coaches. Mm-hmm. We were doing it all through Gmail. There was no Seismic. There was nothing like that going on.
Yep.
I think she was taking like her first trip in like 2 years because she'd been coaching with WAG since the beginning. She was going to like New York City, I think, to a Mets game. If you want to get like super specific.
Yeah.
I remember that. And so me and a couple other sub coaches at the time like took over her client load, and we filled in and we helped answer questions, and we helped like keep a lot of WAG clients on track while she was able to take some time off. I remember that was my first one.
Yeah.
I do remember that like very vividly. So yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, it's interesting that just the shift of going from working on a big vessel, and being away from home for probably, some stints of time, and then going into this career where you're working remotely and there is no longer any place that you have to specifically be. What was that transition like for you, from going from two completely different worlds to working remotely from home, talking to individuals through a computer screen, if you will?
Yeah, man, that's a good question.
Yeah.
That was really hard because, I was gone for 4 weeks at a time, sometimes 5, depending. So really, over the course of a year, you're gone for 6 months. You're gone for half a year. So to go from being gone for half a year to being home all the time and literally not leaving the house. I mean, obviously you can,
right?
but
there's no reason to, right, if you don't need to.
No reason to. And all I had was a desktop, so I didn't even have a laptop. So it was like you're home all the time.
Okay, you were tied to home.
Yeah, for sure. So that transition was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. And I think that nothing like bad happened. It was just weird, weird. And it's weird for me, and then weird for Jess too, because she was used to me being gone, and we talked about this. Like, whenever I would leave, it would be like you flip a switch, and it's like, okay, like here we go. It's time to work. It's time to get this done. And the same thing happens when you come home, right? You just like flip that switch off, and it's like then you're home, and you don't really have to worry about anything aside from obviously like doing things at home and doing things that you really want to do. So me coming off of that, and Jess would do the same thing. It's like, okay, well, Josh is going to be gone for a month. And so she dove deep into her teaching work. She dove deep into her fitness. And so now me coming home, like that changes everything. I remember like early on, she would come home from work and I'd be like, hey, what's going on? Like, I would like want to talk. And she'd be like, I just need like 5 minutes. Been around kids all day. And then I want to talk and just like hang out and do all that stuff. And she's like, I need like 5 minutes. Like you need to pump the brakes. So, so
I'm sure that dynamic changed for both of you. Yeah,
it totally did. It totally did. And over the years, we've both been working for WAG. It's like we've gotten so much better at like time management, and like we talk about our work, all the time. But we're always looking to like be better. Or I'll ask her a question like, hey, like, have you had a person, ask you this question? And she'll ask me the same things. And so we have a lot of like good, like discussions back and forth about clients. And I think it's really helped us both grow as coaches. And also like, we just have the ability to kind of like problem solve like a lot better because of that. So it's really, I know it's really unique for like a husband and wife to be working for the same company, let alone like at home and spending a lot of time with each other, like every single day doing the same thing. So at first it was weird. And now it's like, we can't imagine doing it any other way. So it's really cool. It actually ends up being like super, super cool.
That made me think of something as you state that, like adjusting from your different careers prior to becoming a nutrition coach, and then your world being outwardly and, involving in interacting with people in a real sense, and then coming home and then you're both working together, separately, but you're doing the same job. So you can probably kind of commiserate, you can relate to each other a lot better because you're literally doing the same thing with just a different set of clients essentially. So I'm sure that probably changed the dynamic of your whole life too, right?
Yeah, totally. And again, like it was weird at first, it was hard to get used to, but over the years, it's hard to look at it like any other way, I should note that I'm a co-owner of a CrossFit gym here in town called CrossFit Due North. And that also, like right around the time that I got hired onto WAG, that gym kind of took shape. So it was like a total, to go from, again, being on the ship for 6 months out of the year, total, to coming home and being like a part of a quickly growing online company, and then also starting your own business like at the same time. Like that was a big time, like a reality check, a big time shift in like priorities and things like that. So so with me and Jess, not only do we coach for WAG together, but we're both, I'm one of the owners and Jess is intimately involved at the gym as well. So it's like our lives are very, very like tight. The health and fitness industry is like literally what we do, like all the time.
Yeah, that is your world now. It's become that.
Exactly.
Yeah. What was the biggest obstacle to overcoming the career shift from having a place to be for 4 to 6 weeks and knowing clearly what you were to do every day and only show up to do? So like, what was the biggest obstacle or the dynamic shift in having a career out in the field to working from home and adjusting to that lifestyle, I guess? Like, how did you overcome that? And what was the biggest lesson you learned through that, I guess?
Man, being out, like being offshore was, like you said, you knew exactly like what you were getting into. And of course, like things come up and there's problems to be solved and things like that. But it's like, there's like a sense of like duty. It's like you have like this job and there's a chain of command, and I'm not saying that that's unique to what I did, because no matter who you work for, it's like you're responsible for this and you answer to so and so, and then there's a chain of command there too. So obviously that's not like specific or unique, but coming home and really it's really up to you, like that was the big thing, and I didn't realize it at the time. I thought like, oh, you come home and you can kind of just like, you do whatever, I'll check in and do this and I'll do some check-ins and, then I'll do something around the house and maybe I'll go work out or maybe I'll go for a walk, and stuff like that. And it's like, you can do that. Don't get me wrong. You can do that, but there has to be like some order to your day. And you have to figure that out for yourself. Where on the ship, it was basically like you get up and you eat and then you go to work and then you eat and then you go to sleep and that's it. It sounds a lot like jail. I've never been to jail or anything, but it's very regimented and it's very structured. So,
well, you are on a ship, you cannot escape. You too at the same point, right? Like,
you're out in the middle of the ocean. There's literally nowhere you can go. You can go 100 feet that way, and you can go 100 feet like back and forth, and like that's it. So
you are surrendering to the limitations of that ship. In every way.
So to go from something like that to literally you can kind of do whatever you want,
Mm.
You know, that's pretty jarring in itself. But again, like at first, it's really hard to overcome that. But you just have to like be structured. And I remember when I first started, one of the admins at WAG told us that right off the bat. She was like, you can work for, you know, a certain amount of hours, take a break, go work out, do whatever you want to do, come back, do some more work. Like you can absolutely do that, but make sure that you block it out. And I would say that if there's anyone listening to this that is going to get into like the health and fitness or nutrition space where they do online work, that's so important. And I wish I would have realized that earlier in my journey, with WAG. Um, it's so important to stay structured and work without distraction, because you can get so much more done. You can be a much more effective coach, and you can give advice that is really legitimately actionable and change more people's lives in like less time.
Mm.
And, and I know that it takes years or months at least to like figure that out for yourself. But man, it's like, if I had to give one piece of advice to like up and coming like coaches and nutrition coaches, that would be it. Like time management, work without distraction, always be learning, like continue to advance and like learn different things about your craft and about your coaching skills. Um, and then just always give actionable advice, because that's what people need and that's what people are looking for, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah, it's important to create that structure for yourself, because in a sense, time management structure is what leads to the freedom and autonomy of the joy of getting to work from home, which has its pros and cons. But for the most part, as long as you and I have been doing it, it's pros mostly.
Yeah.
And being able to adapt to that and kind of make it your own is entirely up to you, what you want it to be. And that's the beautiful thing about making that dynamic shift of working out in the field somewhere like that, having variables, limitations, to working at home. And then you're more prone to organize and structure your time, because then you have the ability to get to the other things in life,
That's right.
a bit quicker. And then that's what creates that beautiful work-life balance that we as coaches get to enjoy in this career. As demanding as it can be, and make sure that you prioritize that too, because our mental health, our physical health is just as important in order for us to serve our clients well. Like, we have to take care of us first if we're going to help take care of other people. So
100%. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been a huge takeaway. Is in my experience, is like, I got to be right. Like this has got to be right. This has got to be right in order to show up and do what we do. So it does keep us accountable, in that very nature. Like you can't be a coach if you're letting yourself slip and slide, in your own life. So
that's right.
There's almost like an accountability built into that. So, all right, well, moving on. So next question I have for you, Josh, is what is one of your proudest accomplishments as a WAG coach?
Oh man.
Or most memorable, or I guess what's your takeaway from working with clients?
Man, that's tough. I feel like every week there's something that like happens that I don't think it's necessarily like something that I like. How do I say this? I'm proud of the people that I work with, because they're the ones that are putting in the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can sit here and give like the best advice ever, but if no one is really willing to like do the work or take action on it, then it's just kind of lost in the ether, right? So one thing that I've learned to do over the past couple years working with WAG is I go back to the actionable advice. One thing that I've worked really hard to do is find like my own voice and really try to dig into kind of read between the lines, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say. When someone checks in, they give you the information, they write to you, they tell you how their week was. But if you do this for long enough, you can kind of like read between the lines and understand that there might be more to there might be some other things that they're not saying. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain, but it's very true. It's a very like true feeling. And so from there, starting to ask questions and start diving a little bit deeper into what these people are sharing and what these people are saying, because that's when you can really start making a much higher impact on their lives. So I would say, I mean, I've worked with some clients that have, I mean, had a lot of weight to lose and their health was in jeopardy because of it, and help them overcome different habits that they had, and see some very significant weight loss progress, and their health dramatically improves. And on the flip side, I've been fortunate enough to work with some high level athletes, and we've reached even higher levels than maybe they thought was even possible, just by working on nutrition timing, improving the quality of their diet, because quality of diet does matter. I don't care what anyone says, the quality of the food you eat matters.
Yes.
So it spans. There's such a huge range. But I feel like every single week there's people that I work with that just step it up in some way. And I'm just thrilled to read those messages, and even people who are still, struggling to like work through anything, there's always these little steps that you can help them understand and help them realize. And those are like the biggest wins for me. So it's kind of a vague answer to your question, but it's there's such a wide range of wins and a wide range of accomplishments. It's just hard to pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah. While the outcome is obviously the end goal, right? Like that before and after, that transformation that a client's gone through. And when we say transformation, it's not necessarily in the physical, it's the mental. And I think that's the biggest takeaway that a lot of our clients receive in coaching is the accountability factor and the breakthroughs that they achieve mentally to show them the capacity that they have for change if they're willing to choose differently. Right. And that's like that superpower we help instill in them, that you are capable of whatever it is you want to succeed at, as long as you show up and try to be 1% better every day. So while you may take a client from here to here, it's that 1% growth that happens every day leading up to that outcome that they've been wanting or that they set out to achieve with you as their coach. That it's the steps in between that are almost as more gratifying than the actual end result in itself.
Yeah.
Because that's where the work came in. That's where the payoff happened. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great answer, man. I like that a lot.
It's kind of vague, but it's true,
Yeah. That's your experience, and it's all of our experiences are unique, and we've all got different takeaways from it, because we don't all work with the same clients. We all work with different people, on varying scales of capability, fitness, mindset, all that stuff,
That's right.
So on a little personal note, to get to know you a little bit outside of the nutrition coaching realm and what you did previously as a career, like what's something most people don't know about you, or what's another passion that you have outside of coaching?
Oh man.
Or passions.
Yeah. Passions is a plural.
Yeah.
I mean, I love music. That's probably my biggest passion. I play. I've been a drummer for most of my life, so I love to play music, and I have a couple of friends that are in the area that we play on and off here and there. And then on top of that, just like collecting. Like I'm a big vinyl collector. I records, and then before the podcast, I showed you some of my.
Yeah, we were nerding out pretty hard about that.
I got some new ones in the mail this past week, so I just like. I like to search, and I like to find new things and kind of creep into the different areas and different subgenres of music, and find these like little hidden gems. It's like a hobby, it's like a pastime. It's like a hobby for me. And I love that. And of course, like I think that if I work for a diet nutrition company, it kind of goes without saying that fitness and working out and, being fit is there too. But for something that people might not know about me, it would just be like I'm an avid collector of music. Love to play it. Love to go see shows. Travel all over to see shows. That's really it. That would be my answer to that. I love it. It's great.
Yeah, that's one of the many things I love about you, and one of the many things we connect on, as our backgrounds are fairly similar. Growing up as punk rock kids in the music realm, being musicians and pursuing that. So you and I have we've lived parallel lives to some degree there for sure, and upbringings. Yeah. Does Milo show any musical interest being that you are his dad, of course, you know, and he probably sees you in your love of music, whether it be listening to music, collecting music, playing music. Has he shown any sort of interest in that?
Yeah, I mean, he's so little, but I think like he likes some of the electronic music I listen to. He thinks sounds like robots, so he'll ask
Okay.
me. He'll say he wants to listen to the robot song, or we've we've watched. I've played Ghost for him, because I love Ghost, and
Yes.
that like he knows those songs, and he'll say like I want to listen to the singing Ghost. I want to listen to the singing Ghost. So he picks up on stuff like that, and I've actually started collect like out of my record collection. There's like I have a box, I call it Milo's box, and I'm putting together like records that are really important. They're really important to me and or me and Jess, and I'm gonna give that to him like when he gets older. Like
That's amazing.
like a collection of records. Like I think that like when Jess was pregnant, we went and saw Turnover. So there's a Turnover record in the box, and
Perfect.
like, there's different things like that that have like special meaning.
Oh, so almost kind of like a time capsule of memories in music form for him in a way, right?
Like, yep.
That's so cool.
I have some song lyrics tattooed on my shin that's from a Sigur Rós song. And like that record, like that's the first song on one of the records, and so that record's gonna go in the box, you know, things like that. So that's cool. And again, it's fun to like think about things that are important to us as a family. And have this like actual physical thing, because everything's going digital, you know, but you have this thing to hold, and there's pictures, and you know it's a physical thing, and I think that's so important.
Something tangible, something to
tangible,
something to hold on to. And it's just such a significant kind of like token of you, and encapsulates who his dad is, you know, and what you're leaving behind for him to show him and influence him, you know, whether it leads to him playing music or not, or having a higher appreciation of music. That's but I don't see a way in a world where he's not going to be somewhat involved in that, you know, with you as his dad.
I definitely hope that I instill some other things.
Sure.
Useful information or more, you know, prominent things, but that's one thing I think about it a lot, and so I've already started to like make those selections, if you will.
That's awesome.
That's fun. So yeah,
what a lucky kid.
I hope so.
No, without a doubt, man. All right, so let's wrap this up with one last question here, Josh. Sure. What's one piece of advice that you love to give to your clients?
One. Gotta pick one. Well, I kind of already said it.
Let's say 1 to 2, maybe, you know. Or what do you think has the most profound impact on somebody if taken actionably and applied to their life, and it's not thrown out to the ether, and they actually do take your advice? What do you think can gets them the farthest down the road?
I think that I said it a little bit earlier, but quality matters. The quality of the food you eat matters. Like there is truth. I'm not arguing that there's not to the calories in, calories out model. That works. There is truth to that, but the kind of food that you eat within that like realm, within that arena, matters. Like the foods that you take in affect your hormones. They affect your thyroid. They affect, you know, cortisol. There's so many things that are affected by the type of foods that you eat. And there is room for moderation. Yes. I'm not saying that there's not, but for the most part, like people, even without counting macros, even if you didn't want to count macros and you said, I don't want to do that at all. If you just go ahead and work on simply improving the quality of food that someone eats, their life will change like within a matter of weeks. I believe that, and I've worked with people on that. I've worked with myself on that. Like I've been on that road before, you know.
It's a constant effort to do that.
It is it's not, it's what's funny is that with today's like, you know, modern world, it's actually like it's simultaneously easy to eat healthy and also not, because you're just constantly barraged with just nonsense.
Choice overload almost in a way, like, right? Yeah.
That's a great way to say
because of the convenient society we live in.
Yep, that's a great way to say it. But I stress that a lot to the people I work with, and it permeates like my own personal life. You know, people, I talk to people at the gym about it. You know, it's so important. So I really think that would be like my choice at this day and time. Of what would be the most important thing. I think that diet quality absolutely matters, and people should take it more seriously.
Yeah. It's not so much about what you're willing to take away from the diet. It's more or less what you're willing to add into it.
There you go.
And also a reminder that that is a choice.
That's right.
And it's just to try to make better choices.
That's right.
Yeah, man. That's beautiful. Beautifully said. All right. Well, is there anything else you want people to know before we tune out here, Josh?
Well, I want people to know that over the years that WAG has evolved, and there are so many different things that we do now as coaches that we did not do before. And what I mean by that is we really, really focus on habit formation, making sure that you're making sustainable and constantly evolving changes in your life in order to be a healthier person. I'm not saying that was never the case, but we were much more like, here's the macros, hit the macros, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like early on, and even as a coach, like that was where my mind went to. And it's like we have evolved, and we have gained so much. I'm drawing a blank. We've grown as a company. We've grown our product. We've done so much work, and every single coach has done work on themselves. Everyone has a different perspective, and every single coach just wants you to be the very best version of yourself, and whatever form that might be, you know. So I would encourage people that if you do want to sign up, to come in with an open mind and be ready to work, but come in with an open mind, because it's absolutely worth it. It's absolutely worth it.
Perfect. Well said, man. I couldn't agree more. And if you are interested in more information about what WAG does, you can go to our website at workingagainstgravity.com to learn more about our one-on-one remote nutrition coaching services, our crash course, or flexible dieting crash course, as well as if you have an interest in becoming a nutrition coach, like Josh and I and the rest of our team, on your own, you can check out our WAG coach certification on the website as well. And thanks for listening, and we hope to catch you on the next episode.
Thanks a lot, Chris. See ya.
Yeah. Thanks for your time, Josh. Appreciate you.